Welcome back to Visa Pathway UK, your trusted source for the latest updates on UK immigration, visa rules, and everything in between. July 2025 has brought some of the biggest immigration changes we've seen in years. If you're a skilled worker, a care assistant, a student, or someone planning to settle in the UK long-term, this update could directly affect your future. From a complete shakeup of the skilled worker visa system to the end of new care worker visas, and even new proposals that could delay your ILR, there's a lot to unpack. Let's break it all down clearly, step by step. Let's start with one of the biggest updates. The skilled worker visa route has undergone a major overhaul from July 2025. If you're planning to work in the UK, sponsor employees, or you're already on a skilled worker visa, these changes are crucial. First, the minimum skill level for eligible jobs has now been raised to RQF Level 6, which is equivalent to a UK bachelor's degree. That means many jobs that were previously considered acceptable, including administrative assistants, junior tech roles, and lower-level supervisory positions, no longer qualify for a skilled worker visa. This move is aimed at restricting access to the UK labor market to what the government now considers genuinely skilled roles, but it also shuts out hundreds of job codes that were used by employers for years. Next, the salary thresholds have also increased significantly. For most skilled worker roles, the general salary requirement is now £41,700 per year, up from the previous £38,700. If you're applying based on a PhD, or your job falls under a STEM category, or you qualify as a new entrant or for a role on the immigration salary list, the threshold is slightly lower, but still higher than before. For example, PhD jobs, minimum salary now £37,500. New entrants or shortage roles, £33,400. For businesses using the global business mobility route, such as intra-company transfers, the salary threshold is now even higher, set at £52,500 per year. This is a steep increase that may limit internal moves by multinational companies. Now, what happens if you're already on a skilled worker visa? There are some transitional protections in place. If you were granted skilled worker status before the 22nd of July 2025, you may still extend your visa or switch employers, even if your role is now below RQF Level 6. Continue using the older, lower salary thresholds, especially if your original certificate of sponsorship was issued before April 2024. But this protection won't last forever. The Home Office is expected to phase it out in the coming years, so it's essential to check your job role, your current visa conditions, and your timeline for extension or settlement. Finally, a warning for sponsors and applicants. Many jobs that used to be safe for sponsorship are now ineligible. If you're planning to hire overseas staff, or if you're applying as a skilled worker yourself, make sure you check your job code carefully before submitting anything to the Home Office. This is not the time to assume your application will be fine just because it worked last year. The rules have changed, and they've changed fast. If you're unsure whether your job still qualifies or whether your salary is high enough, speak to your employer or immigration advisor immediately. Now let's talk about one of the most urgent and emotional changes: the end of the care worker visa route for new entrants from overseas. The UK government has officially confirmed that from the 22nd of July 2025, care workers outside the UK will no longer be eligible to apply for a skilled worker visa under the care sector route. This applies specifically to SOC codes 6135 and 6136, which include care workers and home carers, roles that made up a significant portion of health and care visas issued over the past 2 years. What this means in practice is simple. No new certificates of sponsorship will be issued for these roles after the 22nd of July. If you're overseas and were hoping to come to the UK as a care worker, this door is closing permanently in just a few days. However, there is some relief for those already in the UK on a care worker visa. If you're already here and working in a care role under sponsorship, you can still extend your visa, switch to another sponsor, or apply for settlement up until July 2028. But there's a key condition. You must have been employed by your current sponsor for at least 3 months before your next visa application. This is a critical safeguard for current care workers. But the timeline is limited, and the rules are strict. The government's decision has drawn widespread concern from care providers across the UK. Many argue that removing this route will worsen staffing shortages in an already struggling care sector. For thousands of overseas carers who are hoping to join their families or start a new life in the UK through this route, this change comes as a major blow. If you're already in the UK as a care worker, the most important thing you can do now is talk to your employer immediately. Ask about your visa options, extension dates, and whether they plan to continue sponsoring staff under the remaining eligibility rules. Waiting too long could put your future at risk. And for care home employers, it's time to rethink your recruitment strategy fast, because this route will no longer be an option beyond July. Next, let's talk about a proposal that could have a serious impact on long-term migrants in the UK. The government's plan to extend the qualifying period for indefinite leave to remain, or ILR. Under the current rules, most visa holders become eligible for ILR, also known as permanent settlement, after 5 years of continuous lawful residence in the UK. But in its latest immigration white paper, the UK government has proposed doubling that requirement to 10 years for most categories. That means future applicants may have to wait a full decade before they can apply for settled status, a major shift that would affect skilled workers, family route migrants, and even some health professionals. There are indications that exceptions could be made for certain groups. For example, high earners, key workers in essential sectors, possibly those on accelerated settlement routes, like global talent or innovator founder. But let's be clear, this is still under consultation. No official start date has been announced yet, and these changes are not currently in effect. That said, the direction of policy is clear. The government is aiming to make settlement harder and more selective. So if you're currently on a route to ILR and counting down the months, be aware that future delays could be coming. If your 5-year qualifying period ends in late 2025 or beyond, now's the time to track your visa history closely, ensure you meet all requirements, and be ready to act quickly if new rules come into force. The window to qualify under the 5-year rule may be narrowing for many. Now let's turn to students and graduates, because the UK's post-study visa options have also been scaled back in July 2025. The graduate visa, which was originally introduced as a 2-year stay for international students to find work after their studies, has now been cut down to just 18 months. That's a 6-month reduction, and it gives graduates less time to secure sponsorship or switch to a long-term work visa. This change is already affecting students graduating this summer. If you're planning to stay in the UK after your course, you'll need to act faster. Job hunting, applying for skilled worker roles, or considering alternative visa routes like global talent or startup, all within a tighter window. On top of that, new rules for dependents came into force on the 16th of July, 2025. In most cases, international students on top master's and undergraduate courses are now no longer allowed to bring dependents with them, unless they're studying a PhD or a government-sponsored scholarship. This is a huge shift that will impact families planning to relocate together. If you were hoping to bring your partner or children while you study, you may now need to explore other visa options or delay plans. And don't forget, changes are also coming to the Electronic Travel Authorization (ETA) system. While it mainly applies to visitors and short-term travelers, students and dependents from visa-exempt countries should double-check their ETA status before booking travel. All these changes make one thing clear. If you're coming to the UK to study or you're about to finish your course, plan ahead. The visa routes are becoming tighter, and the transition from student life to work life in the UK now demands earlier decisions, better preparation, and a clear strategy. Don't leave it to chance. The earlier you prepare, the more options you'll have. Let's wrap up with a clear action plan. Because with all these changes taking effect in July 2025, early action is absolutely critical. Here's what migrants and sponsors should be doing right now. If you're a care worker and you're already in the UK, make sure you either apply or prepare for your next extension before the 22nd of July, or understand how you can remain eligible up to July 2028. Speak to your sponsor now. If you're on the skilled worker visa, double-check whether your job still meets the new skill level and the increased salary threshold. What was eligible last month might not be eligible today. If you're a student or recent graduate, don't delay your next steps. With the graduate visa reduced to 18 months and stricter rules for dependents, waiting could limit your options. And if you're an employer or sponsor, this is the time to audit your sponsorship practices. Review your job codes, update salary bands, and make sure you're aligned with the new rules, especially the RQF Level 6 requirement and higher salary thresholds. These changes are not just policy tweaks, they represent a shift in the UK's entire immigration approach. The landscape is shifting fast. And whether you're already in the UK or planning to move here, early action could protect your visa future. If you have any questions about how these changes affect you personally, drop them in the comments below. We read everyone. And don't forget to subscribe to Visa Pathway UK. We bring you every rule, every change, as it happens, so you're always one step ahead on your immigration journey. Disclaimer: this video is for general information only. Immigration rules change frequently and individual cases vary. Please seek qualified legal advice for guidance specific to your situation.